I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is Tuesday, June 14th, 2016, and we have a special show planned, and the topic being Hoops of Life Divination, and that is going to be with a special guest, Matuka Moonbear, and I'm going to introduce you to her in just a minute. I just wanted to talk a couple minutes about the full moon in Sagittarius that's coming up on the 20th, and of course the summer solstice is right in sync with that full moon. So we have a lot of energy that is abound around us, and typically when we have two full moons in 1 month, we call it blue moons. And in the world of astrology, when you have two full moons that are in the same astrological sign, we also call those blue moons. And so we've had one full moon in Sagittarius in May, and in June on the 20th, we're having another full moon in Sagittarius at 29 degrees and 33 minutes. And it is extremely powerful when you have this type of energy, the resonance, the influence of it around. And the reason why is that this is really raising our consciousness, our awareness that it's time to see the truth, to see beyond the here and now, and to search this, to search further than we've searched before. And this full moon in particular indicates that for many, this is a critical time, a very critical time in their lives or in their experiences. 29 degrees of any astrological sign is considered critical because it's the last degree before we turn 0 of the next sign. So it means something is ending, and it's really raising our awareness to that consciousness. So there's, and the interesting thing also about this full moon is that there is so much that is uncertain. And everybody can feel this, it sort of feels unstable around us, and sort of confusing. Things are profoundly changing. And I heard this from another astrologer the other day saying that we can either cling to the past or we can flow with the new direction that is being presented to us in our lives. So if you would, kind of think about a cross of mutability, this is basically what is happening with the planets, is we have this mutable squared off cross that is present energy. And I could go into the particulars, but I don't want to do that today. I just wanted to talk for just a couple minutes to give you a sense that what you're feeling is exactly what's happening around us. There's this sort of instability, this fluid energy, and everything seems so uncertain. We're not certain of what's ahead. And it's actually comparable and parallel to a time in history, May of 1713. And to tell you historically what was happening at that time, May of 1713, there was a treaty that was being signed between the French and the British that made it so that they could share land, which made it easier for trade. So it was a critical time in history for them, and that treaty made it that they could, open things up for people. So we're at a critical time such as that with this full moon. A lot of light, a lot of awareness around forward movement, around the truth and understanding and our belief systems. What you believe in is what you will create. So times are changing. It is critical. It is happening now. I would recommend you look beyond the boundaries of the limitations you've experienced in the past or put on yourself or have been put on you. And also remind you that reality is beyond belief. And that was something that was said by Swami beyond Ananda. And with that said, I want to introduce to you my guest today, Matuka Moonbear. Welcome to the show, Matuka.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you.
You
I'm so
too.
glad you're here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and I was inspired to invite Matuka onto the show because of something that she's created. And do you want to tell our guests what that is?
Yeah. So a few years back, I was inspired to create a system, a divination system for consultation and helping people on their journeys, understanding their rhythms and cycles and what was going on for them, like the patterns that we hold in our bodies, minds, and spirits. And the system's called Hoops of Life Divination, and that and they're different cyclic wheels that are overlaid on one another, kind of like gears in a clock that move. And when a person's receiving a reading from this system, they get a lot of information. They get a lot of information about what's going on underneath the veil, so to speak, of their lives, things that they might be feeling but maybe not understanding, or they might have an inkling but they're not paying attention. So it's a fabulous system that really helps people take a look at things.
That's great. Well, I think I was inspired so much to call you because I never met you formally before today.
No.
But I've known of you, I've known you through my friend Sue Fry.
Dear friend of mine.
Yes, yeah. And mine too for a long time. And
Yeah.
she, and I just kept thinking of you and I couldn't get you out of my mind. And I thought, being that we have this fair, psychic and holistic fair coming up on June 25th, which is called Human Transformation or Transformation of Humanity. Mm-hmm. I thought, you know what, let's look beyond the norm that we usually do and let's see what's out there. And I kept thinking of you.
Wow.
And
so
I
that's
called
guidance
you.
Right there. Thank
Yes.
you. Yes, I remember the day.
Yeah. So where did these ideas come from, though?
All right. So I've actually, it comes from living them. I have many years working with different types of cyclic wheels, from medicine wheels, from a spiritual teacher that I studied with for 4 years, and the Celtic Wheel of the Year, which is also called the Witch's Wheel, that has the 8 sabbats, or it's 8, includes this solstices and the equinoxes and some between times. That are really strong power times. So, and then the life, death, and rebirth, and body, mind, and spirit wheels that are everybody's individual life. So we have our yearly season that it encompasses, and then we have our seasons of being human on Earth, and there's different stages of life that we go through, and then how we interact with the yearly season,
Right.
And much like astrology, actually.
Yes.
And so I had a vision. I'd been working with these for so long, and it got to this point where I felt very guided. I just saw the wheels fly out of the sky, really, and land on each other and start clicking. And I'm like, wow, I'm gonna. So I ran to the computer and I printed out 2 wheels and I held them up to the sky and I just held them up on each other and I just saw the whole format and I started working with it.
Wow, so it is truly your creation.
It is.
It reminds me of how the planetary, the planetary appearance of the solar system. And so in a little bit more in detail, how does the system work?
Great. I'm happy to answer that. So you can see the wheels behind me, and what I have are 3 bundles of I call helpers. They're just the wisdom symbols that I work with, and I use animal allies, I use runes, and then I use assorted stones, 1 for each chakra, 1 for each element: earth, air, fire, and water. There's a key and a coin and a couple other objects on there, and I mound them up in the center, and I just have the person put their hands on it, on the mound in the center, and feel into it, and then I just say a little prayer for them, and I ask them to stir it, just move all those objects around until they feel complete with it. And I read from the center out because the center is the core of one's being.
Right.
And that's where we come in with our life lessons, right? What we're working on. So I read from the center what's going on, the things that I see there, which encompasses life, death, and rebirth, body, mind, and spirit. On the life, I'll say what's coming up right now for you is whatever is there. Death is the things that are outdated that they need to let go of or transitioning out of their lives. And rebirth are maybe how that comes in a new way, shape shifts a little bit,
right.
or a new a new level of power for them. And then I come out into the season, then we're in. So right now we're in June, so I would exit the center wheel out into June, and I'd start reading clockwise like the sun. For as long as I have. The system's designed for an hour consultation to do a whole year, but I do as little as 10-minute reading just to give them a taste. And
so like at the fair, a 15-minute reading will give them a taste of what they could expect from a full reading.
Exactly.
With you. Right. I just found it such a unique but colorful and attractive when you sent me the your picture, which is our background. And I think most people want to know, what can I expect from that reading in the Hoops of Life Divination when they're with you. What can they expect, especially if it's 15 minutes? I think a lot of people like to know that answer to that question.
Yeah, it is a good question too. In a 15-minute session, they can expect to definitely work on the core, like what they're holding on the core. Mm-hmm. And usually, depending on how in depth that gets and what's going on, I'll cover at least the first quarter season, so they can hear what's going on for the summer.
Right.
For sure. Usually.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much stuff that they're holding on the core. Because a lot of people are very hold things really close, and some people are really work their stuff on the outside, like they work it in their community, they work it in their family, or they work it in their work, Mm-hmm. And we all do to a degree, but some people are really extroverted with that, mm-hmm. and there's some people who just hold or introverted in their work, or maybe even afraid to see, so that they come in with a lot of things, and that's a lot. There's just a lot of information to tell them.
And it's hard for for humans, especially sensitive humans, to see it all.
That's true. Absolutely.
And so maybe, just seeing the summer might be enough for someone.
Yeah.
At that point.
Or they might say, wow, I want to know the rest of it. Let's, can I have your information?
Right.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right. And that's a good thing, to go further and to have time to digest it, especially when it's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information. I highly recommend a pad of paper and write it down,
Right.
It is a lot.
Right.
Cycle, we all go through patterns. We all have a pattern, and how we dance with that pattern, whether we think we've completed a cycle or not, it is a completion of a cycle, like you were saying earlier.
Yes.
But we come back to it because it's a cycle.
Yeah.
So it's not done. We might go up or down like in a spiral, but it will come around again, so.
And certainly the 25th of June, we are in the, walking toward that full expression of that full moon. So,
yes.
Full moons do bring out intensity of emotion and feelings and realization.
Yeah,
and,
they do.
So I think it'll be perfect timing for the fair. And how is it that your divination reading is different from other types of readings?
Thank you for asking. First of all, most people generally use cards,
Mm-hmm.
Different types of and there's a lot of beautiful systems out there of cards, or even runes with rune cloths, and I do incorporate them as well. But my system's different because, it was guided from spirit. for one thing, and it's so intricate that I can read it for myself. A lot of times people can, read cards for other people, but they can't read for themselves.
That's right.
I can read the system for myself because it's got so much information. I can just write it all down and ponder that message for a while and get a lot. So it's there's not another one like it. Although there is a system, an African divination system that has a cloth and uses cowrie shells that probably is pretty intricate too.
Yeah, because I'm getting the sense that it's a combination of a couple,
Mine is. Yeah. It's a few different, it's a few different traditions really that have come together, and it shows unification of all beings of Earth are one. It's very shamanic in its expression, using animal allies, and it's there's nothing like it, honestly. So it's different than tarot. And tarot, it's not something that you ask a question per se and say, well, am I going to find true love today? It's not like that. This is about your inner work as a person, your spirit, being a spiritual being on this earth. It's not religious, but a spiritual being on this earth, and how to take care of who you are and have the greatest amount of happiness possible by doing the work you're here to do on yourself, which in turn reflects on everyone. I mean, it reflects on your family, your friends, your work, yourself. It's a tool for helping. And I also many times suggest like a little bit of a working after somebody has a reading, like to help reset them. It may include going into nature, connecting with water or a tree or something. So oftentimes with a full reading, I have that opportunity to guide them, and I call that a prescription.
Or
get
your homework.
This is your
Yes, I understand that. Well, if I've not seen your system other than what you've shown me.
Yeah.
And so typically, could you kind of walk us through so our guests can see when they come to see you? Because we are featuring Matuka. Every fair, I like to have a feature.
Yeah.
And I do pick out the topic or the theme of each of these fairs a year ahead. And this one was, when I looked at the chart for it, I said, you know what? Humans are transforming before our very eyes. Our DNA, the earth is shifting.
Changing.
Yes, we are changing drastically. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are exiting Earth and going back to spirit at this time. We're seeing that everywhere. And so the question, coming back to the question is that from A to Z, from the beginning of the reading to the end of the reading, perhaps I had a question, what's my future holding, my near future holding, if I was to ask that to you in this reading?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to get questions like that.
I know, and that I can say to them, a lot of things are going to show up for you here, and it's information that these allies are bringing to you from your ancestors and from your guides, and I'm a conduit for that. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing you the information you need to prepare for whatever it is your heart is wanting. Mm-hmm. So I won't be able to tell you about that new job per se. However, I can tell you how to clear the way. It works more like that.
Yeah. So it's very real. It sounds to me like
it's
realistic, and there's a step-by-step process that's involved.
Yes. It's a self-help working, really, in so many ways,
Right.
For healing.
Right. Well, when I thought about this, and I like the picture, it's and all these combined belief systems that are significant in your cloth. I thought about the Saturn and Sagittarius that we're all experiencing right now, which is we're all working at understanding what our belief systems are, what our limitations are, what limitations we put on ourselves, and
Yes.
yeah, it's true. And there's, with Mars being retrograde, which we were just talking about before the beginning of the show, in Scorpio, Mars is about our actions and our activities, and where we put them and how we act. And in Scorpio, it is total transition.
Right.
And we are in that mode till the beginning of July.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of people, I'm sure, that are going to be asking you about those changes and what that looks like for them. So
Yes.
I think this is going to be significant. The questions that you get,
Absolutely. This system is very much designed for helping people through their transitions.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So.
Yeah, I heard Sai Ma, have you heard of Sai Ma? I heard her say, she actually used the word transfigurations. People are transfiguring their lives, instead of transforming. We've gone through that already. We're transfiguring.
Yes.
So, I guess hoops can take on different shapes too, right?
You can.
Right. Right.
Will work.
Yeah, so everyone that's watching the show, Matuka is going to be at the fair again on June 25th, which is at the Yard Restaurant in Manchester, New Hampshire. It is from 10 to 4, and we have a great group of like-minded people that are there to serve and help you on your life's path with insight. And Matuka, I was really hoping that she would be able to come today, and she was, to share this information of what she's created and why it's different and special and unique. And, everybody, there's different things that speak to different people.
Yes.
But all paths lead to the same place, I believe.
Absolutely, I agree. That's kind of how I see it anyway. That's why I put those together.
Right, right. And so at Turn to the Stars, we're very happy to have you become a part of the community that raises the awareness in our community.
Thank you so much.
Quality of holistic healing.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Is there any what is the main question most people ask you?
Wow. Honestly, how did you come up with this? They're always baffled, but it enchants people, actually. The colors and all the little things that they can touch, I think it brings the inner child right out. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's a very tactile process just draws people. And so the big question is, like, how did you come up with this? Or, I'm very attracted. What can this tell me? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell them. It'll tell you everything you're holding. Mm-hmm. Everything you're holding. And actually, that's a segue to Hoops of Life Divination. Is the initials to that is hold. So it really is a system designed to help the person seeking guidance and more clarity in their lives. Help them see the things that they're holding, that maybe it's time to move so that they can have access to more joy.
Right, right. Move forward.
Yep.
Right,
absolutely.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Hold. HOLD. Hoops of Life Divination.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So everyone, we really appreciate your support and continued support of Turn to the Stars. And Matuka, thank you so much for coming here today and for sharing this with our guests.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And until next time, everyone, I hope that you will turn to the stars and find your answers there. That's my favorite quote, I guess, since I started Turn to the Stars 18 years ago. But anyway, until next time, take good care, and we'll see you next time. And